Let's take a look at the latest results in the race for U.S. Senate between Republican Blake Masters and Democratic incumbent Mark Kelly. This is one of 9 consequential Senate races happening across the nation, hanging in the balance control of the 50-50 Senate. This, like several others, including Georgia, still undecided.
You can see those results right there with incumbent Senator Democrat Mark Kelly in the lead at 52.0% of the vote, with Blake Masters trailing just at 45.9%. And we're here with Team 12's Michael Doudna. Michael, you have been tracking this race very closely, we know, following it all throughout the process. This is one of a handful of races that Republicans really targeted to try to flip. How will the results impact the U.S. Senate?
I mean, we already talked about how much money was spent in this race with Graham just a couple moments ago. And really, who wins this race could determine who wins the U.S. or at least controls the U.S. Senate. I mean, we've already seen how much power that Kyrsten Sinema has in the races so far, and who wins this race, well, could end up having a big outsized impact as we move forward. Now, the big question, of course, is where exactly are all these remaining votes? Now, you guys mentioned and saw that there's about 106,000 votes that are still left and out there. Or, sorry, that's the difference between the two.
Yeah.
So the amount of votes that Masters really has to win to make up the difference right now is around 56%. Now, of course, that's based off our best estimates. And the question is, where exactly are those votes? Are they more of those day of votes that have gone really heavily towards Masters, or are they in more Democratic areas where you see Mark Kelly really overperform right now? And it's part of the reason that we've seen both candidates say they think they have a great shot at ending up winning this thing when all the votes are counted.
Now, you were out last night following the Masters campaign. He didn't say anything. He didn't talk. Any idea why?
Yeah, and he was planning on talking. I actually caught up with him at one of those vote centers that was having some of the issues, and he always planned on talking around midnight. But as soon as that first ballot drop came out, they just went dark on me. They didn't talk for about a while, and then after Masters had already left, well, then the campaign came out and told me, well, we were just waiting to see exactly what the early votes were going to do, and we didn't have enough information to really talk one way or another, to talk a little bit more about hope or talk a little bit about, hey, we're going to have to wait and fight. And right now, because of what the early votes or what the day of votes have shown so far, it makes sense because we still really do not know where this thing's going.
Yeah.
And these two campaigns really had two pretty different strategies when it came to getting the message out to voters. What do you think was behind them?
Well, I mean, obviously everyone's just trying to win the best way they can. I mean, I talked to the Masters campaign right after they won the primary, and they said their focus was always to try to tie Mark Kelly to Joe Biden, especially on policies like the border, crime, and inflation, and issues like that. And they felt that was the way they could end up winning this thing. They felt that that was the way to really say that they're a change in direction that they felt a lot of people didn't really like so far. But if you talk to Mark Kelly supporters, well, they really believe that by just painting Blake Masters as more of an extremist, especially on issues like abortion and Social Security, that was going to keep him in the Senate. We'll have to see which really argument plays out and ends up winning this thing.
Yeah, and obviously, you know, we could see Arizona holding the balance again, and who controls the U.S. Senate. Lots of races still undecided. We're going to have to wait on that. Coming up ahead, I want to ask you about that. I also want to ask you, because you've been out in the community talking to folks in places like diners, asking them what's important to them. I want to hear about what they told you when it comes to this race specifically. So that is up ahead. Michael Doudna, thank you so much for joining us in studio this morning. We're going to get to you a little bit later on in the show.